Hi guys, good afternoon. This is Arvind here, back again. I haven't made a video in English in quite a long time, and I actually have to update you guys in a few things too. That is, first thing is I promised you guys in this month of September, I'll release 3 big videos, one in Tamil, 2 in English. Actually, what happened was I was supposed to give 2 big lectures in English, and they're supposed to be recorded very properly by a studio team. But what happened was I got viral fever. This has nothing to do with me being a vegan. Like everybody else who's susceptible to fever or cold, I am too, so I got a fever. And I was pretty much out of commission for 2 weeks. I went to the hospital sadly, had quite some problems. So after that, I'm feeling better right now. So I lost some time, so in that time I couldn't go and give those lectures. So meanwhile, I did make that video in Tamil about animal rights, and people asked me like, why didn't you subtitle it in English? Well, I felt since that video was aimed only at the Tamil audience, it wouldn't be necessary to subtitle it in English, but we are breaking it up into smaller pieces and subtitling that and uploading those videos on Facebook, so you can check out our Facebook page for that. So with all of that out of the way, today's video is going to be quite a long video, and basically the video is a story about how I became a vegan. I'm going to be talking about my childhood from infancy to my teenage years to right now my adult years. There's a vehicle going by. Okay, so this video might be a bit noisy, but outside as you can see there'll be a lot of noise, so please bear with us on that. We just want a different field, different environment for this kind of speech. So how I became vegan. I became vegan at the age of around, you can say 22. Right now I'm 27. I've been vegan for around 5 years. And the different things that happened in my life that led me up to the point of being a vegan are actually quite substantial. A lot of things, it was one major influence obviously in my life, but a lot of other things came, it all just came together. This is just a story about that. So I was born in a village in Tirunelveli. Tirunelveli is a district in Tamil Nadu, south of India. And I was born to Hindu Brahmin parents. My father was a banker, and my mom was and always is a housewife. My dad's retired right now. I have an elder brother. He's right now, I think he's, I know he's working in Canada. And yeah, he's married, he has his own family. So I'm the second child right now. So as a child growing up, since my dad was a banker, he would keep getting transferred. As a big dog barking in the back right there. So I hope he'll be quiet soon. Okay, since my dad was a banker, he used to keep getting transferred. So even when we were in India, he used to get transferred from North India, Northeast, South, Kerala. He has been and worked like everywhere. After I was born when I was 4 years old, we got transferred to the States, to America. So when I was 4, I went to US along with my whole family, and we lived there for the next 4 years. Now, as you guys know, the life in US is completely different from the life we live here. Even back in the 90s, it was completely different, way more advanced than what we are today. And we obviously, from a Hindu Brahmin family, you can tell I was raised in a vegetarian family. So we obviously did not have meat, but we would consume the milk and dairy products like crazy. And also silk was a common thing to be worn in my family. And basically a lot of non-vegan stuff were done. So as a child growing up in America, as most these qualities are imbued to children there, that is love animals, respect animals. By animals, they mean dogs and cats, because most people there own pets, especially dogs and cats. And trust me, people there, they literally love dogs and cats like their own family members. So I too, seeing my friends, obviously I never had a pet in my life. Till today I don't. My friends had pets. I would go to their house, pet those animals, and I'd be like, oh my God, these are animals. They're so beautiful, they're so wonderful. So my heart sort of started going out to animals from a very, very young age. I was very loving, kind, and compassionate, at least what I thought of myself, to animals. And then what happens is, actually I should not say I never had a pet, because we did have a pet rabbit for around a year back when we were in the States. And basically my friend had a rabbit, and he had to find a foster home for it. So we took the rabbit in temporarily, and then it just became a permanent resident in the house. So the first time I was introduced to the concept of life and death was probably when I was 4 or 4.5. So this incident happened when I was a child. I had gone to the bathroom to pee, and I noticed for the first time in my life something weird, this weird purple brownish looking thing which had like 2 antennas doing this and like 6 legs, like somewhat creepily going around the corner of the wall. And I was totally freaked out, so I called my father in. And he told me that that's a cockroach, and he told that cockroaches are bad, we should kill them. So he immediately took a broomstick and caught the cockroach, and he whacked it a couple of times, and the cockroach began to die. Now, as you know, roaches don't die so soon. They'll start writhing, and they like turn flip over and they'll start wiggling their legs and they'll be suffering. So that's the first time in my life, as far as I can remember, I saw someone die. And it's the first time you're introduced to the concept of death, because I saw it moving and moving, and then suddenly it stops. Like there's no movement at all. And something I felt very unsettled by seeing this as a child. As a child, obviously we can't explain whether what we see is right or wrong, or whether we even understand the concept of life or death. But as a child, I think we can clearly understand that something is quite unsettling and horrifying and wrong about dying or killing someone. So I began to cry. And at that age, I slowly, from that point, I don't know why, it started from insects for me. When I would see my friends crush other insects, or they will try to hit or drown ants, pour water in an ant hill, I would go and stop them and be like, stop, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? Don't you know that they can feel pain too? Don't you know, because they're suffering. Like, I mean, if someone hit us, we would cry and we would suffer, and they're suffering. Can't you see it in front of your eyes? And they would obviously laugh at me and they wouldn't agree. But I always understood that killing was wrong. Like the quality to love animals and to understand that hurting others is wrong is something that I had from a very, very, very young age, from the age of like 4 or 4.5. Now, obviously, as we skip forward, I hope I'm not skipping over any important life story. In case something is necessary, I'll come back to it later. Now, when we come back to India, I noticed that in India, there aren't just dogs on the road. There are many cows and buffaloes and goats roaming on the road. And being who I was, I would always want to go and pet those animals and say I love those animals. And every few months, my father will take me to the zoo, because that's what animal lovers do. Animal lovers go to the zoo and we watch animals in cages. At least that was what my mindset was back then. And I would ask my parents, can we have a pet? And they would obviously say, no, like, we can't take care of the dog or anything like that. And at that point, as a child growing up, I always used to feed stray dogs. In fact, when I was new to India, it wasn't just the stray dogs or cats and cows that I saw. I also saw something quite new for my eyes, and that is people begging on the road. I haven't seen beggars or malnourished people or malnourished children asking for food and money up until then in my life. So the first time I started seeing those things was very horrifying for me, especially when you go to a temple. You will enter a temple, and outside the temple there are like hundreds of people. They're asking, like, give us money, and these people don't have limbs. Some of them don't have like hands. Some of them don't have a side of the face. And I was like, to my parents, it's normal because they grew up here. I didn't. At least until the age of 4, I was sheltered at home most of the time, so I didn't see all of this. So I would ask for my dad for some money, and I would go and give each beggar, like, okay, you take 5 rupees, 5 rupees, 5 rupees. Like, I'd always, if I saw a beggar, I'll either want to give them money or buy them food. And this is something I always used to do as a child. And I remember one particular incident when I was growing up. My cousins had come home from Delhi, and as you guys know, lice live on our hair, on the head of humans. They suck the blood from there. Now, obviously, this is something that I don't completely support right now, but this is what I did back then. My aunt, like, you know, when you take, there's a special type of comb for this. There's like very, very, very thin bristles, and when you comb it, the lice gets caught in between the bristles. And then when you see it on the comb, you're supposed to take your finger and you're supposed to like smash and kill it. And when each time you kill it, there's like a pop sound that appears. So I was hearing these pop sounds. I was out playing actually in my house, and I came running in and asked, like, what's going on? And my aunt told me, like, well, I'm basically removing the lice from your sister's head, and I'm like, you know, killing them. And I was like, why are you doing that? Like, wouldn't it hurt for them? And she was like, yeah, but they're hurting your sister. So what do you want me to do? I told them, no, please don't kill them. Please take those lice and put them on my head instead. Just don't hurt them. And everyone started laughing, and they continued to kill that lice. And I just broke out crying. And understand, I was in 5th standard. That means I was at least 10 years old at that time. And that was how my mind was and how I used to think. I would love and feed strays. Any stray animal I saw, I'd want to feed it, I want to pet it, want to love it. I would, my life's goal was like, I want to, like, you know, have like this, now it's called a sanctuary. Back then I would call it a farmhouse. I want a farmhouse where I rescue all animals from hunters and everybody and keep them in my house. And that was basically my dream as a child. So, and anytime I saw a poor person, I'll want to get them food, water, or money, or clothes, or something. And I would always ask my dad to do that for poor people. My dad also, surprisingly, will always oblige to that, and he would always get poor people clothes or food if we can. So that's who I was till the age of 10, a very kind, compassionate, loving soul to humans and animals. So what happens the next stage of my life? Once I hit 6th standard, obviously now I'm like around some 11, 12, just starting to enter your teens, and your mind is no longer so innocent as it used to be, and it also starts thinking in different ways. So I got a new set of friends when I went to 6th standard, and among those, one of my friends, that guy used to love, you could call him like an expert on how to throw stones on street dogs. In fact, he would go proudly saying that, hey, watch this, like that dog's way over there, like some 20, 30 meters away. I'll take a stone from here and hit it right in the face, watch what happens. And he used to hit it like that. And in the beginning, when I saw that, I was obviously very mad at him. I yelled at him, I was horrified. But for some strange reason, you start to develop this sadistic pleasure of hurting someone, and when you accomplish it and see that dog running away, you get this sense of satisfaction. Again, this is not something that I promote or support right now, but this is the person whom I was as an 11 or 12-year-old child. So we used to literally walk around our apartment complex, a huge place, with sticks and stones in hands, searching for street dogs. Like the moment we entered a particular like block or area, every dog there will bolt and go under the cars, because they know we are here, and they'll try to jump over the fencing and go elsewhere because they hate us that much. Weird thing is, I might sometimes, if I feel like it, if I was benevolent enough, I was feeling benevolent enough, I would go and feed these strays, and I would give them food. Yet the same day, I might come back and throw a stone on them. So it was a very weird behavior. But understand that this kind of behavior is taught. By nature, when I was born, I didn't want to do this to any animal. But when you do mingle with the certain kind of people, you will start developing certain kind of qualities. There's even a quote by Mark Twain, I believe. He says that, show me your friends and I can judge who you really are. I'm not saying it properly, but it goes something like that. So, and I understand that friends have a really big influence on us. And peer pressure is real, and it can really make us do a lot of weird and strange things. So what happens after that? Years go by. Note, now slowly my mind starts opening up to hurting animals. Like now and then, like I remember I used to, it's a rainy season. Oh God. There's a big dog fight going on over there. Should I go stop them? Okay, sorry, there was a bunch of dogs fighting over there in the park. I had to go stop them. So as I was saying, back when I was in 8th standard, when it used to rain a lot, there'd be many frogs running about. I know it sounds very sick and disturbing to hear right now. I will take like these big bricks and smash them. I have done a lot of messed up stuff as a child. And I have to say that my friends were a bad influence to me. But then again, where did my brain go off to? Like, I should have known, like, who cares who influences you? Like, if my friends told me to jump off a building, I wouldn't have done that. So why should I have done this either? So basically, I turned into a complete opposite of whom I was a couple of years ago. Now it enters the point when I'm 15, in my teens, and I meet another group of friends. And understand, so far, these other, my previous friends, we would just hang out together, study together, but we'll go back home. We'll do our own stuff. We'll meet again in school the next day. That's one kind of friendship. When you enter your teens, you start getting friends whom you hang out with. Like you wake up in the morning, you may not even eat breakfast. You just go off to someone's house or meet somewhere in the park, and you hang out the whole day. You go outside and eat lunch together. You go eat dinner together, and you go back home at night just to sleep. Like that's it. You don't study or do homework or nothing. Like that's all we do. So at that age, me and my friends, we went out to a restaurant to eat. And what happens is, so everybody orders like, I'm sorry, my Tamil came out. Everybody orders like, I want a plate of chicken 65. I want a plate of chicken this, chicken that, beef this, beef that. And they look at me like, okay, Arvind, what do you want? I'm like, don't they have any vegetarian options here? And everybody just like burst out laughing. They're like, you're a vegetarian. Like, I mean, like, why? Like, I mean, go ahead and eat veg rice if you want to, but don't you want to try this stuff? I was like, no, man, like, we don't eat this kind of stuff. And then they were like, oh, okay. But you do know that if you want to become big and strong and you want to be a man, you have to eat meat. And I was like, really? They were like, yeah. And I was like, wow, I always wanted to be big, strong, and muscular. I always wanted to be a man, and I want to be cool. So why not? So it was, in fact, to be honest, to eat meat was something, it was never like, I had a desire to always want to try meat from a very young age. And in fact, I have tried it once. Now we go back to this. When I was in the US, I forgot to say this, I tried meat once. And my dad went to one of these parties and they had like chicken drumsticks kept over there. And I was always told not to eat meat. When I asked my parents, why should I not eat meat? This is what they say to me. Because we don't. Okay, why don't we? Because we don't. Because we're Brahmins, we don't. And I found that reason to be very, very, it's a dog in the back. I found that reason to be very, very, unsubstantial, didn't like make much sense to me. So, okay, what if I'm not a Brahmin? Because it doesn't make sense to eat. Because I too never subscribed much to religion as a child. In fact, I remember even another thing when I was a kid, once what happened was my parents, obviously, we used to go to temples when we were in the US. And yes, there are many temples in the US. And I remember one of my friends, he stopped me. He was a Filipino guy. And he asked me like, hey, do you want to go play? I was like, no, man, my parents are asking me to go do prayers right now. So I got to go to the temple. And he's like, you mean church? I was like, no, temple. He's like, yeah, you pray at church, right? I was like, no, I pray at temple. Where do you pray? He's like, I pray at church. And I was like, what's a church? I didn't even know what Christianity was back then. So the thing is that as a very young child, when I started questioning these things about religion and many other stuff, I kind of figured out, at least in my opinion, sorry if it hurts yours, that religion is sort of bullshit. It doesn't really make much sense to me, at least. I'm an atheist myself, and I don't have much appreciation for religion. I have nothing against people who are religious, but personally myself, I don't. So being an atheist like that and having that sort of mindset, my parents always told me I couldn't eat meat. Since my childhood, I always wanted to try it so badly. In fact, when someone restricts you from doing something, that's when you want to do it even more. Okay, either something comes from the heart or it doesn't, you're forced to do something, right? So all my life I was told, no, don't eat meat. Even though I had tried it on a few occasions before. But this is the first time I was out at the restaurant with my friends and they were all eating this stuff and it smelled incredible. It looked incredible. And I was like, you know what? Let's just do this. And I ate that. I ate chicken fried rice and some chicken 65. And that was one of the most delicious things I had ever eaten in my entire life. And I was like, oh my God, this stuff tastes just so good. Like, what was I doing with my life anymore? And soon after that, I started complaining about my mother's cooking. I would go home and yeah, my parents eventually found out I was eating meat. But to be perfectly honest, they didn't care much for that because they were like, okay, either way, I was one of those children who would never listen or obey their parents. So my parents kind of quit the idea of trying to tell people what to do or what not to do. So I used to hang out with my friends. I wouldn't drink or smoke, obviously, but we would go. My main aim was to just eat as much non-veg. Like everything that has been tabooed for me, everything I've been told not to do all my life is exactly what I wanted to do. So I then went around and I went to all sorts of restaurants and just ate every single kind of meat possible, from chicken to duck to pork to lamb to goat to sheep to beef to literally anything you get in Chennai, I've eaten. So after eating all of that, I felt so satisfied, so happy. And I thought to myself like, oh my God, but even then I needed pocket money from my parents to buy this. Understand, I'm still living under I'm only 15 or something. I'm like in 10th standard, so I need money from my parents to get this stuff. So I thought to myself, when I grow up and get a job, I'm just going to eat meat and nothing else. I'm going to go out and try all the expensive stuff. Because again, the stuff I eat was local stuff. Like for 30 bucks, the fried rice you get. I still loved it though. That's what I was eating. So time goes on. I joined college. My parents moved to a different city. I'm living alone in Chennai right now. I studied in Loyola College, by the way. I studied French literature. Yeah, as I was saying. So I studied in Loyola College. I studied French literature. If any of you are Loyola students or if you are from the French literature group yourself, you can ask our teachers from the staff room. They might remember Arvind from 2010, who passed out in 2013. I was one of the top students there back then. So when I went to college, my parents gave me a lot of money because now I'm living alone. And I had the power to use that money to buy whatever I want. Notice at this point in my life, the torturing animals, chasing dogs, squashing insects, that's gone out. Like that's no longer there. Like right now, I have an addiction to fulfill. Then that addiction is eating everything my parents told me I shouldn't eat. So I would go to a shop and I had like, back then 500 rupees was like apparently a big amount. And I would buy all, I remember I have gone to a shop where I have bought like 8 packs of dairy milk. Okay. And I would buy and I would start eating that at like 11 a.m. in the morning and go on till like night 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. And then I'll go out and have like this big non-veg feast and come home and sleep. Home, by home I mean hostel where I was staying. So like with that money and freedom, it drives you insane. And I ate and ate and ate. I would be I was in evening college, so my college starts at 1:30 and ends at like 6:30. I would be there, however, at 12 p.m. sharp, because that's when the Anna means big brother, in the cafeteria will open the biryani drum and start swirling everything together. And I will be, he knows my, he'll be like a face like, hey, wow, come Arvind, how are you doing? Come, you come for the first plate. I'll be like, yes, I want the first plate. I want the first egg. I want the first everything. And back then, one plate of beef biryani was around 45 rupees. One plate of chicken biryani was around 60 rupees. And I would eat 2 plates pretty much every single day. And then I'll go down and eat on Quality Walls Cornetto every single damn day when I was living alone my first year of college. And I loved it. I mean, I loved it. I didn't want anything else in life. Like, non-veg was everything to me. So for people who are thinking that, oh, this guy is a Brahmin, he's a vegetarian, he's never eaten meat in his life, because people keep telling me, oh, you try eating this once, you will never change, you can never stop. I'm like, dude, you have no clue whom you're speaking to. I have probably eaten more stuff than you have ever eaten, probably you will ever eat in your entire life. I have literally stuffed my face with so much of the stuff. I know how good it tastes, but my story gets even bigger right now. So college goes on, I continue eating, I am happy, all is good. I also, in school, I was, you can say, the school loser, okay? Like, everyone mocks and makes fun of me. I don't know if any of my schoolmates even remember me. I'm dead serious. If they even see this video or see my face in public, I was the one guy, quiet, silent in the back of the class. I wouldn't even show up to school half the time, because I can admit openly in camera right now, for any kids right now who have psychological issues, I was a child growing up with insane amount of insecurity problems. I hated myself. I couldn't study. I used to fail my exams. I couldn't score marks like the other kids. I wasn't as smart as them. I wasn't as good looking as them. I wasn't as intelligent as them. I wasn't as strong as them. I was basically what you would call as the school loser. So I hated myself, and many times I would refuse to go to school because people make fun of me. And I am right now 6'4". Even back when I was 15, I was 6 feet, and I was really skinny back then. So like this is nothing, guys. Like, I'm happy with the way I look right now. My mentality and a lot of stuff has changed. But seriously, you should have seen me back then. I was 6 feet, probably weighing 48 kilograms, skin and bones. So there's a lot of insecurity problems and stuff I had. So I wouldn't even want to go to school. So yeah, I used to go to the psychologist. I used to take medications and stuff, because I had many issues, and only then I could go to school and somehow finish my exam. So that's whom I was at school. However, when I came to college, I kind of realized that if I don't pull myself together right now and study and achieve something, my life is ruined. Like, that got into my head very clearly. And plus, I was much older. I was 18 plus. I was much more mature back at that time. So I studied really hard. And I was one of the toppers in college. I studied French. I can speak French, English, and Tamil fluently. And then after my 3 years of college, I got a really good job. I got placed in Amazon, the online website. I was working for Amazon France. And my first salary I got at the age of 20, because I was turning 21 the next month. But my first month, I was 20 years old when I went to work, and I got 30,000 rupees as my first salary, and that's a lot of money for a 20-year-old kid to have. And I was telling my parents, like, oh, all these days living under your money. You told me do this, do that, don't do this. And I had to keep asking you for money for everything. I have my own money right now, and I can go and eat whatever I want. That is literally what the first thing I told my parents when I got my money. I was like, you have been telling me always, because my mom would tell me, do whatever crap you want to do in your life. Don't do it in front of my eyes. You earn your own money, live in your own house, and do whatever. I was like, you know what, Mom? Wish granted. I'm earning my own money. Soon I'll move out and I'll do whatever I want. And the first thing I did was I went and ate in Papa John's Pizza. I went and ate in Domino's Pizza. I went to Subway. I went to KFC. I went to Mary Brown. I went to Chick King. That's like a Chick-fil-A kind of ripoff here in India. I went and ate at every single big Western non-vegetarian hotel, and I loved it even more. My life was like finally coming to a completion. And apart from non-veg on one side, I used to love playing video games. My whole goal in life was to earn as much money as possible, eat as much meat, and play as much video games as you can, and die happy. Like, that was my aim. And if you had asked me what my aim in life was just 5 or 6 years ago, that's the only thing I cared about. Video games and non-veg. That's it. And I then went to these other places where I got like thick, creamy milkshakes, and I was rich. I was getting 30K a month. I had way more money than I could even spend. I had too much money with me. And then what happens is I keep eating and eating and eating and eating. And then it comes to a point where my mother starts getting a bit depressed. I remember my mom one day coming and telling me like, Arvind, you are my son. And it really hurts for me to see my son eating meat like this every single day. And you don't even eat what I give you anymore. Like literally if I tell like, should I pack lunch for you? You're like, no. I get biryani at office, or I'll get pizza at office. I'll get double cheese chicken wraps. I used to eat it. Dude, if any of my Amazon colleagues are watching this, you can vouch for the fact that I would come into the damn conference room. With the conference room, when the meeting was going on a phone call with 4 more teammates, I will be the guy sitting there in the corner munching on 2 double cheese chicken Manchurian wraps. Okay, that's who I was. And one of my biggest catchphrases back then was like, hey, my name is, like, if you meet me for the first time, this was the first thing you'll hear me say. This is back from college. Hi, my name is Arvind. I'm a Brahmin and I eat meat. Like, that's the first thing you'll hear from me. Like, that was literally what everybody knew me for. The name given to me by my college mates was Tandini. What that means in Tamil is selfish eater, because that's all I used to do. I wouldn't share my meat with other people because I want everything. So time still goes on, and my mother says to me like, Arvind, I'm getting so sad you're doing this. You should stop, both for your health and for the sanity of your parents. I mean, like, you are a Brahmin, and what are you doing? Like, you wear that sacred thread around you, and you eat meat and do such horrible things that we shouldn't be doing. Is this all right? And I again look at her and ask her, Ma, why don't we eat meat? Because we're Brahmins. We don't do it. And I was like, woman, I'm an atheist. I'm not even a Brahmin. I left this stuff a long time ago. Your reasons do not convince me to give up meat at all. Now, I remember I had a conversation during lunch with another Brahmin friend of mine. His name was Surya, back in the office. And he also told me like, Arvind, I have a doubt. He was like, yeah, you say that you are an animal lover. Oh yeah, for some reason, I don't know how this happened, but I became an animal lover again by the time I reached my 20s. So I would actually be donating my money to the Blue Cross of India because they save puppies, and puppies are cute. And I'm a good human being who wants to help animals. So I give my money to the Blue Cross, but I still eat anything I want to eat. So Surya asked me actually that day, like, why do you do this? Like, don't you find it hypocritical? Like, you are killing on one side and then giving money to save other animals on the other side. Does it make sense to you? And I think I told him something like this. You don't eat meat, right? He's like, no. Well, more meat for me. Please, you keep your beliefs with you and hold it till the end. I will eat your portion as well. And that's the best retort I had, which is kind of the stuff that I get these days from people. So this is what happened. And then finally in the year 2013, probably during December, we moved to a new house. My father and my mother and myself. My father is now back from Hyderabad. He was in Hyderabad for a long time on his bank work. And then he's transferred back to Chennai. And we moved to this new house. And near this new house is this restaurant called Mary Brown. It's a few kilometers away. And if I gave them a call and ordered something, they would deliver it to my house in probably like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And that's when I'm telling you, I became like an addict, a real, like how an alcoholic is for alcohol, or a drug addict is for drugs, and a smoker is for tobacco. That was my drug. I remember the phone call. I would call them up and they know my number on the screen. They'd be like, hello, is this Arvind sir's house? I was like, yes. Yes, sir. What would you like to order? I would like to order, it's called a double cheese tower chicken pizza. I'm sorry, a double cheese tower chicken burger along with 4 pieces of fried chicken. I want 2 ribs, 1 thigh and 1 wing. Now, when I say it right now from my perspective and what I've learned and seen in life right now, it sounds sick because you're literally ordering someone's rib, someone's wing, someone's thigh. That's sick. That's disgusting. But back then it's like, no, we eat this stuff. So, and along with that, they'll give a complimentary cool grape soda. And every weekend I'd sit back at lunch and just eat that while watching something I like on YouTube and drinking that soda. Life was bliss. Like, life was just so good. I was the happiest man in the world back then doing that. And I used to play video games. Like, I was earning so much money. It's been a year since I got my job. By that time, I'm earning like now like 35,000. I was just the happiest. So while all of this is happening, I also used to follow a guy who goes by the name of Tim Sheaf. You might have heard of him. He is a world freerunning parkour champion. And back then, now he's not a vegan anymore. Back then, he had made a video called Why I Went Vegan. And what happened was, I have been following Tim for around like almost 5-6 years back then, way more than that. Because I used to love his acrobatics and stuff, and I was always interested in gymnastics, and I used to do that when I was a teenager. So I used to really love watching his shows. So I watched an episode of Why He Went Vegan. And once again, the first thing that, again, I have never heard of the word vegan before. It is in the year 2014. Okay? Never heard of the word vegan, don't even know what it means. So I click it and he explains like vegans are people who don't eat meat. I'm like, okay. We don't eat eggs. I'm like, okay. We don't eat honey. We don't drink milk, cheese or any dairy products. And I'm like, are these people insane? What the hell do they eat? Like, do they even have any happiness in life if you don't eat this stuff? Like, that was my opinion back then. So I watched the whole video and I was like, okay, fine, dude. Like, you know, maybe you're an athlete. Maybe you feel better without eating meat. But me, I love my meat. I love my cheese and I love my dairy milk and all this stuff. So why should I ever quit? And I again thought the same thing. Well, the more the vegans, the more meat for me. That's my mentality back then. But since this is the first vegan video I saw, and I think I saw one more video of him talking, I was like, okay, cool. Like, you know, this is he's vegan. I saw a few of his videos. I learned what it is. I'm not interested. I'll move on. But then vegan videos started getting recommended because I watched these two. They started getting recommended for me on my side of in my YouTube feed. Now, before we go on to the video that changed my life, there's one very important incident that happened in my life that I have to explain to you guys. And this happened during the 26/11. That is the, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, 26/11/2008 Mumbai terrorist attacks. Now we're going back to the past again. So basically, this time as a teenager, the guy eating non-veg with my friends outside in the hotel, I was still at that point in my life. Now what happened at that point was, it came in the news that a terrorist had entered Mumbai and they had killed hundreds of people in the railway stations. The bombs had exploded and now they have like some 50 to 100 hostages in the Taj Hotel and Oberoi hotels and so many other stuff. So when I heard this news, I was really sad. I was like, oh my God, what's happening? Like this. Why would someone kill somebody else? And then they showed the videos and pictures on the TV and there was like so much blood and bodies everywhere. And I think that's the first time I'm seeing a human body. And it's the first time I'm seeing like human blood, and it really made me quite sick, to say the least. And just as the news was closing, a small title below read that a small rubber dinghy has been spotted on the shores of Chennai Marina Beach. It is thought that the terrorists have now made their way from Mumbai all the way to Chennai. Now, when I read that, I was absolutely petrified. Like, I was literally, I have never been so scared in my life. Because I thought the terrorists had come to Chennai and for sure they're going to kill me. Now, why do I think they're going to kill me? Because I live in a bank headquarters, one of the richest places in Chennai. So if they would attack anywhere, they'd come straight to my place. So I was really scared. I did not sleep for a couple of nights straight. In fact, I had nightmares about being killed when I had my eyes closed. And I remember that the moment I read this, I had to run into the bathroom because I was gonna cry and break down. And I was like literally shivering. Because I'll tell you one thing, guys. For those of you who have not experienced pain or suffering in your life, for those of you who don't know what it feels like when you know you're going to be killed, that's one of the worst feelings in this world. When you realize, okay, I'm going to die right now and I can't do anything to save myself. Because that was my mindset. I literally thought that the terrorists, it is a hoax. It was later announced a few days later, like, no, that's a hoax. They're still in Mumbai and the carnage is still going on in Mumbai. But when you start believing in your mind that you're going to die right now and someone's going to take your life against your will, it is the most horrifying and disgusting thing you'll ever feel in your life. Like, you will feel like someone just gave you 1,000 punches in the stomach. So I ran to the bathroom because obviously I can't cry in front of my parents or brother because they laugh at you. And they'll be like, little coward can't go to school. Now little coward saw because I mean, that's the honest thing. Like, little coward has mental issues. Little coward struggles to go to school, can't pass a exam for Christ's sake. But he sees a small news saying that terrorists have come to Chennai. Now he wants to shit his pants in the bathroom. So I ran by myself to the bathroom, washed my face, looked at the mirror, and the first thing that came to my mind and out of my mouth was like, as an atheist, God, please don't kill me, God. I'm sorry for all the wrong things I've ever done, God. I promise I'll never do it ever again. I'll pray to you every day. If you want, I'll sacrifice everything in life. I will give up all of this life and I'll go to the forest and just pray to you as a saint. Just let me live. You know what? I even went as far as saying that I won't eat non-veg anymore. For some reason, that just occurred to me like, I won't eat non-veg. So after that happened, and once I realized that all of that things was a hoax and nothing was real, I obviously calmed down. But I started reading more and more articles about the terrorist attacks, and I finally learned about who terrorists actually are, because up until then, I didn't even know what the word terrorism meant, up until then. So I started Googling in YouTube and stuff, and started watching videos of shootings and killings and bomb blasts and beheadings. I have seen these videos on YouTube, and trust me, they are very disgusting and horrifying to watch, of humans killing other human beings. And back then, for some reason, it just came to my mind, like, I don't know how to, I can't explain how, okay, it just came to my mind, like, okay, I saw humans killing humans. I know I eat meat, and meat comes from dead animals. So how do humans kill animals? And I started watching videos of PETA, and there's this video called Farm to Fridge. If you haven't seen it, and if you have the guts, I suggest you to watch it. It's a very horrible video of showing how in the States, people are killing cows, pigs, goats, and other animals, and how these animals suffer, how they bleed, how they scream, and everything. And I watched the entire video from front to back. The moment I'm done, I went to the bathroom. I literally shat myself there, and I washed my face, and I came out, and I was like frozen and shivering, like, so this is where my food comes from. And I went back and I watched a few more videos. I subscribed to PETA's newsletter and they sent me emails. But not in one email or in one video did anybody tell me, you are the one causing this. You are the problem because you eat this. You go vegan. No one ever said that to me. All I saw was, this is very cruel. We need to find more humane methods of killing animals, more sensible methods instead of torturing them to death. And I was like, yeah, that's a fantastic point. I mean, like, hey, I love eating non-veg. You're not taking away that from me. And I hate seeing animals suffering and being brutally, tortured like this. So if we could do this humanely, why not? So my mind immediately went to the whole point, like, okay, I buy humane meat. I'll just imagine that everything I eat is humanely. And plus, I live in India. Cruelty to animals doesn't happen in the land of ahimsa. That footage was shot in America, and I live in India. We don't do cruelty. In India, I'm pretty sure that all the animals are tickled to death, and they're like, we say prayers, and then we cut their throats, everything is fine. So this is just one part of my life where I was exposed to the violence and cruelty of this world by seeing what terrorists do. I was exposed to violence and death about seeing what we do to animals, and I already saw what's happening to the animals, and I had no knowledge about veganism, but I did learn that it can be done more humanely. So finally, after watching Tim Sheep's video and learning about veganism, all of this suddenly comes back to me, like, oh, okay, like, he explained, obviously, they kill animals, that's why I'm vegan. I was like, yeah, he's right, like, maybe he feels bad for the animals, he's vegan. But then there is this one other video that comes in my recommended feed, and it says, the best speech you'll ever hear. And I was like, best speech you'll ever hear? Well, I'm free right now. I have nothing better to do in this weekend, so it's just like, what, an hour long? I'll watch it. And what's wrong in that? And plus, so I click on it, and it's written below, the speech is given by an animal rights activist, a vegan. And I was like, pfft. Yeah, good luck changing meme, dude. Like, okay, fine. Like, you know what? It's kind of like how these days many atheists will sit and watch religious people giving sermons, not to learn about religion, but just to see how senseless we feel it is and laugh about it. Like when someone makes a claim, like crazier stuff, like we see these Christian pastors on stage, they make these girls dance like by touching them, and then they'll say like, God did this to them. Like we watch it for the entertainment value, right? Similarly, I wanted to watch the video of the vegan talking for the entertainment value. I mean, what's the stupid vegan going to say to me? Not eat meat? Let's just watch it. And I started watching it. And within the first 10 minutes of watching it, there was no violent video shown, just one guy talking, that's it. Within just 10 minutes of watching it, I just realized that, okay, you know what, I think I'm going to watch this whole thing. And I think this is a bit more serious than what I imagined it to be. And then by the time I was done watching it, I'm like, I'm done. No more. This is the best speech I ever heard in my entire life. I am convinced every single thing I have done up until this date is wrong. I'm willing to accept all my mistakes and change myself immediately. And the speech is given by an activist called Gary Yourofsky. He is now retired, sadly, from animal rights. And the whole point, I think what changed me the most was, we all know animals feel pain and they suffer and stuff. That's the first time I've seen a human being, a person, compare humans and animals as equals. And comparing violence that happens to humans equal, he says that the violence that happens to humans is equal to the violence that happens to animals. And it all adds up. Like when I saw videos of animals being killed, I was horrified. I saw videos of humans being killed, I was equally horrified. And I told myself very clearly that we can kill animals in a humane way and we can do it in the right way. But then, how come I never thought, well, maybe terrorists can behead us in a very nice way? Maybe they say their prayers and say a few mantras to us and then they cut our heads off, it's nice. Like, when that comparison was made that humans and animals are equal, and I knew deep down inside, we are equal. I suddenly felt the child inside of me, who I was till I was 10 years old, the child who would love animals, who would want to feed all these animals, who want to pet them, who will never want to hurt them. And in fact, in his speech, he even mentions that part. Like, it's like that speech, I swear to God, you guys can go back and watch it. It's called The Best Speech Ever by Gary Yourofsky. He spoke at Georgia Tech back in 2010. It hit every single place it needed to hit me. Where it says that when you were a child growing up, you used to love animals. You were in awe of animals. You would do anything to protect them and never hurt them. But what happened to you along the way? And I was like, yeah, what did happen to me along the way? I don't understand what happened. And then he finally plays out a very horrifying video with music showing animals being killed. And once there's a difference between watching those videos when your eyes are closed, and he mentions that too. You all have blinders on your eyes. And you have those blinders telling you it's okay, we can do it in a humane way, it's always been this way, lions eat meat. You have all these things blinding you. And everything just made sense to me. So I remember after watching that video, I decided, you know what, everything he said is right. Like if I were to say right now after watching that video, I will not go vegan, I will have to be completely dishonest to myself. Like, it has to go against everything else I believe in, because I always believed in honesty. If I could not do it anymore. But how do I become a vegan? I mean, I am this meat addict. How could I ever go vegan? So I knew eventually that I had to go vegan. How I was going to do it, I still didn't know. So what I did was I started thinking, okay, let's just try learning more about veganism, what to eat, what not to eat. And like, let's just see how we can do this. So I tried to first quit everything all at once. It didn't work. I relapsed after a month. I ate meat one more time. And trust me, what I ate that one last time was the guiltiest. Like, I didn't even eat all of it. I threw away most of it. I was just like so guilty. I was like, why? I could tell myself like, dude, you're an addict. You know what you're doing is so violent and so wrong. You realize everything, yet you still do it just because it tastes good. I mean, like, what is wrong with you, Arvind? Like, I could not live with myself that way. And that was back in 2014, I would say, during the month of like April, May, June, July, I don't remember when, okay, June, July, August, I quit meat. And a couple of months later, I moved alone to live alone from my parents. Because, by the way, oh, yeah, so this, the guy who used to fight with his parents for eating non-veg now goes and starts fighting with his parents, telling them, you be vegan. And my dad was like, listen, you stupid, useless person. All these years, we've been trying to convince you not to eat beef and other crap. And now you have the audacity to come and tell us not to drink milk. Who do you think? I was like, listen, Dad, you guys never cared for animals. You guys never did any of this because you care or love anybody, okay? You did it because the best reason is because we don't. I mean, like, what kind of a reasoning is that? I'm doing it right now for an ethical reason. I'm doing it because I know it's wrong. And I don't want my parents to be contributing to this violence and nonsense that's going on. In fact, okay, if you feel what you're doing is right, why don't you watch a video of me with what's happening in an Indian dairy farm? Oh no, we won't watch those videos, Arvind. Don't force us, but we'll keep drinking milk. And I was so confused, like, why are my parents acting like children? I'm telling them, just see where your food's coming from, and you can't even see that. You don't have the bloody guts to see how your food is made, but you want to eat it, and someone who tells you that they won't do it anymore is wrong. How does that make sense? Then I go back to work the next day, and I tell all my colleagues and friends, hey, I'm going vegan from now on. And everyone starts laughing at me. They're like, you vegan? Yeah, right. No way, you can't go vegan. Never gonna happen. Oh, we'll see how long that lasts. Well, clearly it's lasted around 5 years right now, so they were wrong. And my manager, I remember so well, his name is Arvind too. So we were planning of going for a team lunch that afternoon. And I was the guy who used to always say where we want to go and eat, because I wanted the best kind of non-veg. I wanted the best crab, the best lobster, the best beef. I wanted always the best meat for me. So my manager Arvind came and told me like, hey, they used to call me Kannan back in office because there were two Arvinds in the team. If someone said Arvind, my manager would get up. Someone said Kannan, I will get up. So they say, hey Kannan, where do you want to go and eat? I was like, well, I'm a vegan right now. And the look he gave to me was like, what? You vegan? Like, no way. Okay, but fine, what do you want to eat? I was like, I don't know. I think I'm just going to go to the cafeteria today downstairs. I'll just have some sambar rice or something. And I'll make sure they don't add ghee in my rice, and I'll have some vegetables. That's it. And then he was like, why don't you eat meat? I was like, because they're killing animals. And then he looked at me and asked me, can you stop a frog from eating a fly? I was like, what? He's like, can you stop a frog from eating a fly? I was like, no. He's like, do you know how many flies a frog kills in a day? I was like, no. Therefore I eat meat. And I was like, what? Like, I didn't even know what to say or what to respond. And then ever since people found out I'm vegan, like a whole bunch of, oh, but plants feel pain. Oh, you're ruining the ecosystem. Okay, but what about the poor farmers who will go out of business? Do you get enough protein? If you don't even drink milk, how will you get calcium? Did you know that cows can be milked in a very nice way? And not to mention, humans have been doing this for a very long time. And plus, you won't get enough nutrients. And the amount of crap that people will just come and say. And I was like, dude, like, okay, back then I would never even go and tell people they need to go vegan. Like, I wouldn't even do that. They would just come and say this to me, because when they hear I'm vegan, they'll have to come and tell this to me. I was like, why do you even bother? And like, the days and years just went on, and I just became vegan. And then the more and more I was exposed to animal cruelty, and more that's happening, the more and more I realized that I just can't be. I keep stopping because there's a really beautiful insect. Oh, it's a dragonfly sitting over here. I'm just admiring it. So I just learned that the more and more abuse and the horrible things that are happening, and how the thing I hated the most is how much people don't care. What angered me the most was that people are hypocrites who don't care. Okay, at least if people told me, Arvind, you know what, I'm a piece of shit, I'm worthless, I deserve to be hung to death along with my family because I'm such a hypocrite who kills others' family, and you know, if anything bad happens to me along the way in my life, I deserve it, let me burn in hell, but I'm an addict, so I'm doing this. If people spoke that way to me, I'd still want them to change, but at least I'd be like, you know what, you're being honest. But it's when people say stupid excuses, and people live, they see, look, everyone, they do this dumbest thing, like in my teammates, there'll be people like, oh my God, look at this, a dog is injured, oh my God, poor doggy, I hope his paws doesn't hurt. Dude, you're literally eating the leg of another animal while saying that, like, what is wrong with you? And if you point this out to them, they'll be like, oh, Kannan is so rude, Kannan has changed, this veganism is getting to him, Kannan has joined a cult. Yeah, I am the one who left the goddamn cult, you guys are still stuck in the cult. So again, okay, no hate toward my colleagues or anybody who knew me watching this. It's just that all this frustration and anger comes out, and I'm much more calm right now. You should have seen me back then, how angry I was. Because you realize that this world is full of lies, and this world is full of crap, and this world is full of shit, and all of those are human beings, crap, shit and lies. That's what people really are, sadly, sorry to say. So after that, so that's how I was introduced to veganism, how I changed, and how I'm vegan. It's not like I know it's a very big take on it. If you're interested and made it till the end of the video right now, like, good job. Either you're jobless or you really wanted to hear my story. I don't know. So comment below how you went vegan. What do you think about my story is? And if you really found this story interesting, I can talk probably for another hour or something about how I became an activist, because that's a completely different story. Understand? up until I went vegan back in 2014 during the late months of August or September or something like that. I don't remember exactly. But I met another vegan only probably like 1 year or 1 year and few months later. And I started doing activism probably only around like 1.5 or 2 years later. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that happened in my life that led me to be the person I am right now today, the person you see. And it's not like accident. I wasn't born this way. You know what? I was born very kind and loving to animals. It's just that I was taught not, that part was just like taken away from me. And now I just managed to get it back. Basically, I'm a child at heart in the body of an adult right now. And just trying to awaken that same spirit in other people by speaking honestly and truthfully on their face instead of lying to them, instead of going and telling them like, it's okay, you eat little non-veg, no problem, none of that crap. I don't like speaking crap. Tell them what they're doing is wrong and ask them to change. That's it. So thank you guys so much for listening. If you want me to make another video of how I became an activist, let me know. I'll do that. Until then, take care. Live vegan, guys.